Welcome to Triad All-Stars. Where are they now? Hosted by Ryan Smith.
Hello and welcome back to Triad All-Stars. My name is Ryan Smith, and joining me today is former Glenn High School football and baseball standout and now a country music singer. He is Chris Lane. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's so good to have you on. Let's just jump right in. So growing up in Kernersville, North Carolina, you have a twin brother named Corey. Talk about growing up in Kernersville and just how sports kind of began into your life. We'll start there.
Yeah. So born and raised right there in Kernersville, and still, my parents still live there. I love every chance I get to go back and visit. I've been able to travel the world at this point touring, and I'm super proud of where I grew up at and where I come from. It makes me feel so lucky and so blessed to have grown up in such a wonderful place. And then as far as getting into sports, my brother and I believe ever since we were babies, we were super competitive with each other, and grew up playing football, baseball, and basketball. And to kind of, shorten a long story that I could probably tell, we grew up in those three sports, felt like we excelled at all of them. And then we got into high school and just chose to play football and baseball. And my brother, he played quarterback. I played receiver. We had that little twin connection going on. So we had 4 great years of high school football, and heck, I still reminisce about it all the time. Those were some of the best days of my life. And then 4 years of high school baseball, and we both had the opportunity to move on and play football and baseball in college, but chose to just play baseball. I had just come off my second ACL reconstruction, and I decided, baseball is going to be a little bit easier on my knee. Sure. And we both went down to UNC Charlotte, where they had, I played center field and my twin brother played second base, and both of those positions were going to be open freshman year. So we both got to go in and start right away. And we both loved Charlotte, had successful careers there. I think as kids, we both had that dream of moving on and playing professional baseball. Music's something that I never really thought of, because I was just so into sports.
Right.
But I knew I loved singing along to the radio and stuff like that. I just never knew what it could potentially turn into. So I graduate college. My twin brother, he got drafted, chose not to play. My chances were kind of hurt after quite a few surgeries, but I was able to play all 4 years of baseball there at Charlotte and made it through all of them, but was just kind of hurt always in the off season kind of vibe. But needless to say, we both graduated from Charlotte there and moved back home to Kernersville, where I just started working. And at the time I was learning how to play the guitar, and that kind of snowballed into getting my first show out, and the rest kind of happened from there. Just put a lot of hard work into it.
Yeah, and you kind of got a lot of my questions I was going to ask. So no, that's good that the listeners kind of got a nice full view. So we'll circle back around to Glenn High School.
Sure.
You mentioned UNC Charlotte, where it happens to be my alma mater as well. You did go there for baseball, as you said, you and your brother. And then, like you said, after graduating there, you learned to play guitar. The sports injuries kind of affected your chances playing professional baseball. But in going back to Kernersville, you worked for your father's landscaping business, and that's where you started a cover band that played at High Point University cafeteria. And so you kind of started your music career that way. And I'll kind of let you open the floor there. How did music kind of get, after playing the guitar and kind of learning, how did that music career kind of take off? Give us like a 20,000 foot view of kind of how that happened.
Yeah. So flashback to, just graduating college. I had no idea what the heck I wanted to do as far as work goes and what kind of job I was going to take. But, for the time being, I jumped in. My dad had a company called Lane and Sons Landscaping. He still has it to this day, still running it there around Kernersville. But my brother and I, we both chose to just kind of jump in there, help him out with that until we could figure out exactly what we wanted to do. And, at the time, I started learning how to play the guitar just for fun. I'd always wanted to. I'd been to several, country concerts growing up. Kenny Chesney, Keith Urban, Eric Church, just to name a few, and they inspired me just to want to learn how to play the guitar. But I was never thinking to myself, "Oh, I'm a great singer," or "I can sing." None of that. It was just, I enjoyed playing the guitar and learning how to do that, and spending all my extra time, free time, learning that. And I had no idea what that was eventually going to turn into. Once I got good enough on the guitar, I started trying to figure out how to play and sing at the same time. And fast forward a little bit more time while I'm still doing landscaping, I decided to start a cover band. And my twin brother, who had never even attempted to play drums, bought a drum set and said, "Well, I'll play drums for you." And so we just started a little 2-man band. Long story short, after I got my first shows, I just kept building upon that and started playing longer sets, started getting a whole lot more shows, started building up a following as I went. And then I was able to build up enough of a following, over those first couple years that I was able to get into some of the bigger clubs around Greensboro, Winston, started branching out into Georgia and Florida, South Carolina, and was able to start building up followings there. Had a pretty good Southeast showing every single time I would play a show. And so that prompted me to try to write my own music for the first time, because I had all these people showing up, but I was just playing cover songs. So I didn't know how to write a song. Sat down for the first time, wrote my first song. It was not great. And then I continued on and wrote 12 more. Had a buddy record them there in Greensboro, who was also, starting out as a music producer. And none of it was great, but you kind of start somewhere and learn from there. I put that out, and just, people showed so much support and always showed up to every single show that I would play. And that's inevitably what ended up getting me a record deals, because all these songs that I was playing, people would show up and singing their hearts out there in the Southeast. And Nashville took notice. The next thing I know, I have all these record execs flying out to watch me play. I'd never even been to Nashville, none of it. And it kind of happened in a different way, I think, than it happens for a lot of people. And next thing I know, got record deals on the table. Fast forward a little bit, I'm in Nashville living, and record my first record and get my very first number one on the radio right out the gate. And here I am on my 6th or 7th song on the radio now, man. It's been pretty crazy. Never in a million years, coming from such a small town, did I think that something like that would be possible. But the Lord has definitely blessed me beyond my wildest dreams. That there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and you mentioned, just to give the listeners a little bit of a brief background here, as you kind of laid a lot of that out. You had the Chris Lane band, as you mentioned. You've got, before pursuing that solo career, and then just a few guys that you opened up for: Brantley Gilbert, Lee Bryce, Chris Young, among others. Moved to Nashville in 2013, as you said. Florida Georgia Line, you opened up for them. Your debut single was Broken Windshield View back in 2014. And then you released your debut album, Girl Problems, in 2016. So a lot of different steps along the way, as you said. And then Finally, in 2021, you were featured on the single Tailgate to Heaven by Canadian country artist Sean Austin. So a lot of different steps and a lot of hard work to get there, like you said, kind of along the way. You ended up getting married. You ended up having a couple of kids. You got a family now. So a lot of good things, as you said, from coming from Kernersville and having the success that you're at now. When you're not touring, Chris, when you're not on the road, what are some of your hobbies that you like to do outside of music for fun?
Yeah, when I'm not on the road, honestly, even when I am on the road, one of my favorite things in the world to do is to golf. I'm very big into that. Some country artists love hunting, some love fishing, and some love golfing, and I fall in that golf category. So I would say if I get any free time, that's what I'm doing. And even out on the road, my tour manager, Brandon Matthews, who is from Kernersville as well, he knows exactly what I want to do and what I want my day to look like. And there's always golf set up. So that's usually the first thing I do in the morning. Get up, go play some golf, come back, eat some lunch, get warmed up, do a little sound check, get ready for the show. So I don't do a whole lot outside of that because I'm here a lot with the kids. Right. When I come in off the road, it is all hands on deck. So yeah. I try to get my golf in as much as possible out on the road.
Yeah. Well, this has been such a great conversation. Chris Lane, my guest here on Triad All-Stars, part of our Glenn episode series featuring former athletes and coaches from Glenn High School. Chris, last couple for you here. And as I said, just a great conversation we've had with you. Where can our listeners find you on social media, or where can they follow your career as a singer and in music and beyond?
Yeah, I think I have a website, iamchrislane.com, and then, all the Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever's out there, I'm on it. I believe it, I am Chris Lane as well. So they can follow along there. I usually try to keep people as updated as possible, minus, here lately, I've been a little slower on everything with a 1-year-old and a 12-week-old.
Certainly understand. And my last question for you, kind of open-ended. When you look back, as we're circling back to Glenn High School, when you look back on your time at Glenn, football, baseball, with your brother Corey, and just the memories that you've made there, what do you want your legacy to be when people look back on not just your time there, but just when you look back throughout the years when you've been growing up in Kernersville and then going to Glenn High School? What do you want people to remember about your time at Glenn? And what are some memories that you look back on and are very fond of at Glenn?
Yeah, I feel like some of my favorite memories are definitely on the football and baseball field. I find myself thinking about that constantly, and even trying to write songs, because that was such a great time in my life. One of my favorite periods of my entire life was high school there. And, it just made so many lifelong friends, who we all still keep in touch with today, which is crazy. But yeah, man, I feel like a high school was at Glenn High School was unbelievable. And I tell people all the time, hey, enjoy high school, because it'll be some of the best times of your life. Then you got to get out in the real world.
For sure. Yeah. And as you said, it goes by quickly, and eventually, like you said, you're out in the real world, and as you are an example, there are different paths you thought you were going to be on, and then something circles back around, and now you're doing something else. So, Chris, has been such a great conversation. Good to talk to you today. As I said at the top, my guest has been Chris Lane, former baseball and football standout at Glenn High School, then baseball standout at UNC Charlotte, and now a country music singer where he tours around the world. Chris, all the best to you. Thanks for coming on today here at Triad All-Stars.
Heck yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Welcome to Triad All-Stars. Where are they now? hosted by Ryan Smith.
Hello and welcome back to another episode here on Triad All-Stars. My name is Ryan Smith, and my guest today is a former basketball star at Glenn High School at NC State and also played basketball professionally. He is Kevin Thompson. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing great, sir. I thank you for having me tonight.
It's so great to have you on, Kevin. Excited about this conversation. Let's start with your background. You grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Talk about growing up and just how sports came about.
I grew up in household, two-parent household, mom and dad, little sister, and basketball was always big in my house, and sports in general was always big in my house. So that's just something I gravitated to. And my mom was very supportive, as my whole family. So we just had a lot of love and a lot of sports.
Yeah, and important to have that love as you find those sports for sure. And you end up going to Glenn High School, class of 1989. What is your favorite memory or time there, specifically playing basketball or something non-athletics related? What sticks out about your time at Glenn High School?
I gotta say, the 88-89 season, we won the Frank Spencer, and then the year we came back and went 28-2, and we just had a lot of fun. We were a well-coached team, and we were a team that liked each other, and so I think the memories I have for those seasons stick out because we just had fun and were really, really good.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, class of 1989, that 1888, 1989 season, having those memories with your teammates will definitely last a lifetime. And then you on transition to college basketball, where you signed with NC State. You went there for 4 years, and you were a all-conference player there. Why NC State? What made that a good fit for you?
I think the fact that I could play as a freshman really got me to think about signing at NC State, and then just the legend Jim Valvano. He when he came to, I was sold. Also, just playing in the ACC, as you know, during the mid '90s, the ACC had a lot of talent. There were pro players on every team. So the fact that I could play and I could play at NC State right away really drove or led me to pick NC State.
Yes, and as we all know, unfortunately, we did lose Jim Valvano in the 90s, sadly, to cancer. Such a great coach that he was, and someone who definitely made an impact on a lot of guys, not just at the NC State basketball program, but basketball as a whole for sure. And then as you graduated in 1993 from NC State, your pro career then got started, drafted by the Portland Trailblazers in 1993 in the second round. And just to give the listeners a little bit of insight here, you follow that up with stints overseas, 1994 to 2000 in the Italian Premier League, where you were a two-time All-Star. And then 2000, 2003, you were in the Turkish Premier League, where you were a three-time All-Star and MVP. And then finally in 2003 to 2008, you played in the Spanish Premier League, where you were a two-time rebounding champion and also MVP there as well, before retiring and hanging up your cleats in 2008. So what was your favorite place to play specifically? And what did you learn from your professional career playing basketball? And I say hanging up the cleats, hanging up the shoes. Of course, cleats is another sport.
I would say Spain. The food, the people, the culture, the soccer. Um, we, me and my family just had a ball game. So I get Spain is somewhere I can live now. So
Yeah, yeah.
my
I think a lot of
time
people would.
my time in Europe, yeah. So my time in Europe overall was great, and what stuck out was the amount of skill the players had.
Mhm.
And think that we can see now with the amount of players that have gravitated to the NBA that Spain overall skill of the players, the European players in general, are very skilled players. So I would say that stuck out. The NBA, of course, is a more physical league, but the European players are more were more skilled at that time. So that stuck out, I would say.
Yeah, and then transitioning also to your post-playing career. So 2011, you started working in the EC department at Walkertown High School, Walkertown Elementary, rather. And then Walkertown High School, where you've now been for the last 8 years. Why the EC department and why Walkertown? How did that come about?
Okay. My old high school coach, daughter was the principal at Walkertown Elementary, and she invited me up one day to come in and speak to the kids. And once I got up there, I kind of fell in love, and I started to volunteer. And then from there, I went back and got my teaching license about 8 years ago and transitioned to the high school and started working as a high school EC teacher in the OCS department.
And then I know you mentioned off the air, you also recently got application for potentially being a principal one day, correct? You also got some more certification done too.
Yes, yes, sir.
So that's something we'll definitely be watching going forward and hoping you'll be able to meet that dream one day very soon. And at Walkertown High School, you also kept your sports love. You were coach of the basketball team at Walkertown for 4 seasons before stepping down in 2020. You led the Wolfpack to a Western Piedmont Athletic 2A championship and a conference tournament title along the way. So I'll let you kind of take it from here. Whatever you'd like to talk about from your time as the basketball coach. What did you enjoy about coaching at Walkertown, and do you miss the sport?
Yes, first of all, I miss it a lot. And I guess what I miss most is just mentoring a young man. Um, I can get that teaching, but I really enjoy seeing young men and women take their sports to the next level and helping them achieve their goals. So that was something I miss dearly. And with my recent principal's license, hopefully I'll get a chance to continue to mentor young men and women and help them achieve college goals.
Yeah, and that was well said, Kevin, for sure. And we'll definitely, as I said, be watching that as you continue down that principal licenseship. Just a couple more questions here, Kevin Thompson, my guest today here on Triad All Stars. Before we close, two other questions for you. What hobbies do you like to do outside of when you're not teaching in the classroom or obviously not coaching at this moment? What do you like to do for fun?
Well, I would say with my family, just family time at movies, with the wife and kids or my nieces and nephews.
Yeah, for sure. And lastly, I believe listeners would like to know where they can connect with you. Where can they find you on social media, or just in a different way? Where can they connect with you?
Well, I'm kind of old school, so I have an email, Kevin Thompson 42 at gmail.com. And that's about it. I like to keep it real simple.
So you're one of those off the grid folks. I take it. No social media of any kind.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, that does it, Kevin. As I said at the top, my guest today has been Kevin Thompson, former basketball star at Glenn High School for class of 1989, NC State, class of 1993, and then professional basketball player with stints overseas as well. Kevin, all the best to you, and best of luck the rest of this school year as you continue to pursue not only impacting young men and women in the classroom, but also that principal's licenseship down the road as well. We will certainly be watching, and thank you for being a guest today here on Triad All Stars.
Thank you, sir.